Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you who've joined us for a wellness webinar here. Our topic for today is mindfulness as a differentiator in well-being programs. We at Great Place to Work are constantly on the lookout for ways to strengthen a culture of holistic wellness across workplaces, especially through our wellness offerings for our corporate partners, because of which we're here today to learn more about mindfulness. And we've also decided to add mindfulness as a tool to our wellness offerings. Today, we have Shivani, who is a mindfulness practitioner herself. She has been holding sessions and workshops for clients for the last 2 years, and we now have her joining us today to introduce mindfulness as a tool for improving our well being and that of our organization. She'll also share with us how mindfulness is important as a differentiator in well being programs for corporates and how do we add that as our offering at Great Place to Work. Before we move forward, I would want to congratulate the winners of our Step Set Go 7 Days Challenge for all the participants who joined us at the Great Place to Work and HDFC Go Health and Wellness Summit, the Wellness Confluence. We have the winners here on the screen. A huge congratulations to everyone who participated and especially the ones who also are here on the leaderboard. Thank you so much for being patient and joining us on time. I would hand over to Shivani. Over to you.
Thanks, Shambhavi, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Just give me a moment. I will just hide this nagging panel that's probably right in front of your screen so that you can see all of it. Just 1 second. All right. Shambhavi, are we all good? Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Perfect, perfect. So after the announcement, let me come to the topic for today. Very warm welcome to all of you to this webinar on mental health and wellness. Our agenda for today is to initiate a discussion around mental health and to share a very, very powerful tool in managing and improving our mental health and wellness. And that tool, as you can all see on the screen, is mindfulness. Let me quickly bring up the agenda for today. We will be, and tell you what we will be talking about. We'll be talking about the common ways in which we understand mental health and how it's a lot more than the simplistic ways in which we understand it as of now. We'll understand the need for these kind of interventions around mental health and the simplest things that we can do to promote good mental health. We will also be talking about how we as organizations have the power to reframe the narrative around mental health. And we will also be talking about how mindfulness can be a powerful tool to do exactly that, to take care of our mental health. So before I move on to the next slide, there is something that's coming up in your chat boxes. You will see a link, a Mentimeter link. We will get to the link in just a few seconds. What I want to tell you is that I'm starting the session with a reflective question. So what I want to ask all of you here today is, what comes to your mind when you hear the word mental health? Just take a few moments and now click on the link that's in the chat box right now and go to that and just type in your responses. Don't think too much, just the first 1, 2, or 3 words or things that come to your mind when I say mental health. What is it that comes up in your mind? And the responses will start popping up as you type in that link that has been shared with you. So I'll just wait for, all right, depression, mad, peace of mind. Brilliant. Keep it coming. Keep the answers coming. Overall well-being, balanced thoughts, happy mind, invention, soul, relax, well-being, satisfaction, being mentally healthy, self-care, meditation, chemical locha in mind. Yes, yes. All right, emotionally sad, peaceful sleep. I love that you're relating it to sleep as well. Very good. Keep this coming. Unique, amazing. Unique is what a lot of people call weird as well. So, unique is a wonderful way to flip the word weird. Psychological, overwhelmed, boredom, sleep, yes, staying happy, emotional quotient, stress, perfect, perfect. All right, so I'm just going to pick up a few of these words from what I'm seeing on the screen, and I'm going to talk about relate to these words that you've actually put out. So this is how we usually understand mental health. You know, this is how we would think. This is probably the image that comes to my mind when I think of mental health. You know, somebody who's sad and or crouched and crying and depressed. And usually the words that we would associate with mental health as we would think of medication, we would think of therapy, we would think depression, anxiety, stigma, even suicide. We would probably think of bipolar, schizophrenia, a lot of things in which we would probably say, oh no, that's not us, right? What I want to talk about here is that mental health isn't just these things that are here on the screen or aren't just the things that we usually associated with. It's a lot more than that. It's about something like this as well. Something where people are looking probably absolutely normal, they're smiling, and yet they might be struggling. We could have things like a low self esteem. It could be around weak boundaries. It could be around a weak sense of self, people pleasing, not being able to say no, not being able to ask for help. These are a lot of other things all that also affect our mental health. And let me tell you why. And the issue is that when we don't understand it in these sense, we're not able to address these issues, and it continues to affect our mental health. It's about not knowing how to deal with negative thought loops. It's about not being able to create healthy boundaries. It's about not knowing when you're exhausted or not knowing when to take a break or how to get a creative reset. When we don't understand it like this, there's also so much apprehension. And the issue that comes up with that is because of this apprehension and because of our lack of understanding mental health in these terms, in these ways, people will not come forward for it until they are at a crisis stage. Our mental health would suffer because we probably took on too much and we don't have enough resources to fulfill maybe the demands of the job or a task that we took, or maybe even just putting an event together. If you're aware of our resources, if we can build healthy boundaries, if we know when to say no, we can avoid this. But if we don't, it will give rise to anxiety, to stress. We'll snap at people, we'll be short tempered, and we'll be unhappy. Imagine not having a strong sense of self. We look for people outside, we look for things outside that make other people happy. Someone's taking a trip, maybe I should do that too. Someone's getting married, maybe that's what will make me happy. Someone's enjoying a drink, like at a fancy restaurant, maybe that's something that will give me joy. We think that what is making other people happy is what could make us happy as well when we don't have a strong sense of self. And for us, joy might look very, very different than all of these things that we see. It might look like sitting in a warm blanket with a cup of hot chocolate, not Insta worthy at all, but maybe that's what we like and that's what we want. But if we don't know it like that, if we don't know who we are, we'll probably get stuck in a job we don't like. We'll probably get married to someone we're not very compatible with. We'll probably spend money on things that don't give us joy, and we will get sad because we will think that I can't find happiness. But the truth would have been that we were always looking in the wrong places, and that affects our mental health. Again, not having a high sense of self, not having a sense of self worth. Some random person makes a comment, for example, even on social media, and that would continue to bother us if we don't know who we are. We'll feel bad about it. These are the ways in which we don't commonly understand mental health. And like I said, I pointed out at the image, I've intentionally chosen this illustration where people seem normal, working, smiling, interacting with others. With this image, with this illustration, I want to drive home the point that that's how even not very good mental health can look. Someone next to us might be struggling, and we might not see the obvious signs of it because of the way we currently think about mental health. So, with this, I'm basically driving home 2 points about mental health. One, that mental health covers a very broad spectrum of habits, patterns, learned behaviors, a lot of which happens on autopilot. And the second point that I want to make here is that mental health is one common thread that cannot be segregated into different spheres of life. We can't think of it in terms of mental health for our personal life and mental health for our professional life. I'm sure all of us would have used the statement some or the other time, oh, the boss is in a bad mood. He must have had a fight with his wife, or she must have had a fight at home. Or a mother telling her kid, don't irritate dad today. He seems to have had a bad day, right? Which means that we're all aware of the fact that our mood spills over from one side or one sphere of our life to another. That there is no distinction, no segregation in terms of how our mental health gets affected. So we need to understand that this is one continuous thread that spreads and spans across our entire life. Right. So let's look at the need for it. Why are we talking about it? And I don't want to throw a lot of numbers here. I just want to put out one very simple number here for you, which is according to a survey that was done by Indeed, where 80% employees said that they look for wellness initiatives that a company is offering while considering working for that company. It shows how the need, how the employees are have the courage now to vocalize their needs and how this has shifted post the pandemic. So we can't ignore this anymore. This is, like someone mentioned, need of the hours, right? So again, like I said, not going into too many numbers, not throwing too many stats at you, and just quickly moving on to the simple, low-cost ways in which we could promote mental health at workplace. That's another thing that usually comes up when we think of wellness initiatives. We always think about, oh, what's the cost associated with that? So that's the point that I want to touch upon here, that there are some very simple initiatives, simple steps that could be interventions that can be easily adopted at very little cost. Just like we have stepathons, the winners for which were just announced, we could maybe even have sleepathons where we reward people for getting 8 hours of sleep consistently, or maybe we ask them to monitor their quality of sleep and promote good sleep hygiene and reward them for getting enough rest. I remember that sleep was also one thing that was mentioned when I put out the Mentimeter. So I do see that the crowd here is aware of that. So that could be just one simple way of promoting mental health. It could be about just creating these creative corners, teaching people about creative ways of expression, creative therapies, just simple things like maybe drawing your mood, painting your breath. It doesn't have to be complicated, it doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to be very time consuming. It could also be about promoting do nothing hours, maybe not an hour, maybe just about 15 minutes, 10 minutes of time doing nothing. And the reason for that is that where we wear busyness as a badge of honor in today's time, normalizing doing nothing, normalizing taking time out to just relax can also be a wonderful first step in our wellness journey. Name your emotions, like they say, name it to claim it. Acknowledging the presence of an emotion is the first most important step in being able to work with those emotions, especially difficult emotions. And unfortunately, we were never taught how to work or handle the difficult emotions. So naming the emotions, acknowledging its presence, again, like we do in mindfulness, is the very first starting point of being able to deal with those emotions. So just even making the effort to acknowledge the presence of an emotion. Meditation corners, again, all of these initiatives are things that don't cost a lot. Just creating a quiet corner that is clean, calm, distraction free, where you can just sit back and maybe listen to a quick 2 or 3 meditations and just relax for a couple of moments. It gives a break to that anxiety, the rise of stress and anxiety that you might get caught up in during work. So, again, just simple, low cost initiatives that you can take. Let me now move on to reframing the narrative and what I mean by that. How, as an individual, the amount of effort in normalizing these conversations around mental health will be multitude times the effort that we have to take as individuals. Yet, as organizations, we collectively have the power to normalize these conversations by creating safe, non judgmental spaces. Why are we talking about it? We are here because we collectively, as a group and as organizations, have a power that we as individuals do not have. If in our organizations we start talking about mental health and make it a regular practice to check in, do some activities every now and then, that will become our new normal. If we make it accessible, non-judgmental, if we start creating safety around these interventions, these conversations, if we start creating safety around these interventions, these conversations, and seeking help, we as organizations have the power to change the narrative. And imagine this, an employee who becomes aware of his or her own mental health and learns how to manage theirs will also have a trickle down effect on their families, on their kids. We are going to have an impact larger than we can see or we can measure, which is why we are here together to see how we can normalize this as organizations and how we together as organizations have the power to reframe this narrative. Now that we've talked so much about how important it is to have these mental health interventions, let me introduce mindfulness as a practice. We've been talking about it. What exactly is mindfulness? Simply put, mindfulness is just the art of being present in the now. Very simplistically, it could start with just things that are happening around you. And eventually, as your practice gets deeper, it could also shift to things happening inside us, becoming aware of our thoughts, our emotions, our sensations in the body, and then understanding them and working with those. So let's do one thing. Let's just take a moment and just look around wherever you might be. Pick any one object that might be lying around you. It could be a pen, a remote, a diary, a piece of fabric, just about anything. Just pick up the object and just take a moment to observe the number of colors on that one little thing and the textures on it. Just go ahead, run your hand on the object and just see what you notice. It could be the simplest of things like a remote or a pen. Have you seen the object the way you're looking at it now? Have you ever noticed how many colors that object has? Or were you aware of the textures, or the play of different textures that one object has? The idea of this micro activity is just to make you pause, to observe more carefully where you are and things around you. And also show that while you were doing this, there were probably no other thoughts in your mind. Similarly, how when we start paying attention to one thing at a time, we're able to quieten the mind, focus on what we are doing, and as we get deeper, we're able to start doing the same with our mind too, and find the tools to declutter our mental space as well. Let me now tell you about why I say that mindfulness is a powerful tool in the arsenal for good mental health. How mindfulness creates a pause, just like we did right now. Mindfulness creates a pause for us to reflect and understand on what's really going on. It gives us the time and the chance to move from an automated response to a more logical response. to bring back our critical thinking. It gives us the chance to take better decisions, to be more creative, to be more compassionate, not just with the other person, but also with ourselves. And helps us figure out who we are, our purpose, and lead a more fulfilling life. The one thing that I want to also mention about mindfulness is that it's more about setting a culture, a mindful culture, than it being just a one-day workshop. And why I say this is such a powerful tool in our box of tools for mental health is because this is a tool that is pervasive. It's a tool that's more sustainable, more transformational, and more transformational than a lot of other wellness activities that we have. And it's also more impactful. When I say mindfulness is a powerful tool, the reason I say that is because you could change your house, you could change your car, you could change your spouse. Hopefully, you wouldn't need to do that. You can change your environment, your country, your physical appearance, but you will have to live with the same mind. And everything else could fade in front of bad mental health. We've seen celebrities who seem to have it all, right? But yet, there are some celebrities who might still be struggling, and there are cases that we've seen. So there's nothing more powerful than working on making your mind a better place to live in. And mindfulness does exactly that. It has the ability to really go deep and work on the source of our struggles rather than just be a band-aid solution. I want to quickly move on to the relationship between mindfulness and productivity. When we think of any intervention, any wellness intervention, and right now, since we're talking about mindfulness, the one thing that comes up in our mind is how do we measure the efficacy of that? Will our productivity go up? Will it affect our bottom line, our top line? I want to talk about how we usually get caught up in this mix of a wellness initiative, wanting to measure how it will affect the productivity, and then wanting to see the impact of that on our top line, on our bottom line. Over here, I just want to take a minute to talk about the intangibles of mindfulness, just to broaden our perspective, taking one step back and broadening our perspective about measuring the returns of investment into mindfulness. That how we might not be able to measure the impact in monetary terms directly, but how we might see the impact in a lot of other intangible ways. It could lead to, if we get out of this mindset, it could lead to us taking better decisions. It could lead to faster turnaround because we're more focused. We're doing one thing at a time. We're more focused on what we're doing. It could lead to being able to handle a crisis better, better stakeholder management, where we're able to understand the needs maybe of all the stakeholders involved, the clients involved, and better meet those needs. It might also mean better hiring when we're able to identify a person who's more suited, devoid of our biases that we might be carrying. And that's something that we all of us do at a subconscious level. If only we become aware of those biases, we might even be able to hire better for the job. We might be able to solve problems better, more creatively. We might be able to think outside the box and think of solutions that we usually are not able to come up with if we're able to tap into that Zen space using mindfulness. And we might be able to lower our stress and improve our resilience. The power of collective mindfulness, why I say that this is something that can, building mindful teams can be such a powerful tool. Because the basis of an organization well-being or an organization that's doing well is something that is derived from the wellness of the employees. How employee well-being means an organization's well-being, and how this organization's wellness is built on so many pillars that we talked about. In the last slide, when we talked about all of these factors, think about all the employees being able to practice all of these things that we talked about: better decision making, better crisis handling, better problem solving, being able to manage their own emotions, their own stress, and improving their resilience. Imagine the kind of organization that you would be building if only we were able to build a culture of mindfulness. Now that we've spoken about mindfulness, what it is, and what it can do, I want to quickly introduce mindfulness based workshops that we are introducing here today. Based on, given on our understanding of how powerful mindfulness can be, great place to work is investing considerable amount of time and effort in building this as a practice into offerings that you can readily adopt for your organization. And based on the responses that we've got, the needs that we've got from organizations, we've introduced two themes as of now. I'll go a little deeper into the themes in the next two slides, but I just want to quickly give you an overview of the format and who is it that these workshops are suitable for. So we're offering these workshops in two different formats. The first is a single 60 to 90-minute workshop. If this is the first time that you're probably introducing mindfulness at your workplace and you're not sure, maybe this is something that you will find easy to adopt. However, we do recommend going in for a series of at least 3 workshops. And let me tell you the reason why I say and why we recommend 3 workshops is because a longer engagement gives us the time to build in more activities, more experiential activities that not only are employees able to experience during the workshop, but it also gives us time to build activities which have a follow-up. So there would be a gap of a few days or a week between these series of workshops. And in that gap, we give away certain exercises that employees are able to do so that they're able to practice and experience these on their own. And then there are also reflections built into that as to how is it that they should interpret it and how is it that they could build on those practices. These are suitable for both managers and teams. But again, I think that it starts with taking care of our managers because their mental health will also spill over on the mental health of the team. So I think it's absolutely imperative for us to take care of our managers first and then also take care of the team subsequently. Because as we saw, teams are the pillars on which the foundation of an organization is built. The objective of these two, so the two offerings that we have as of now are how to problem solve creatively using mindfulness. Over here, we will learn mindfulness tools to foster out of the box thinking for problem solving, and it could be very simple everyday issues as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be something where we have to be extremely creative, but just being able to break through those restraints that we usually think in. What it does is that it improves our creative thinking. We're able to understand the biases with which we work and within which we work. We're able to work past those biases and we're able to take better decisions as a result of that. The second one that we have is how to handle stress and build resilient teams. In this, we will be learning mindfulness techniques to understand our triggers and also create our resources to build our resilience. We learn tools with which we will be able to lower our stress. We will be able to understand how to work with the mind rather than the mind trying to control us and take us into a loop. We will try and understand how the mind works and we'll try and make the mind work for us rather than it being the other way around. And we'll understand how we can build our resilience. I'm taking a slightly deeper view, giving you a deeper view into what these workshops are going to be like. This is the first one that I spoke about, how to problem solve creatively using mindfulness. It's broken down into 3 modules, but again, the format is, all of this can be covered in a shorter format of 60 to 90 minutes. And at the same time, these are also full-fledged modules that can be done as a series as well, where in each part, we will be taking up only one module, building in more experiential activities into this. So this one around creativity, around problem solving, is more where I talk about introduce the concept of shoshin, which is the practice of a beginner's mindset, the concept of a beginner's mindset, where we don't look at something as an expert, but we come up to a problem, or we start looking at it in a way as if we're seeing it for the first time. That's what Shoshan is about. So in the first module, we will be talking about what mindfulness is. I'll introduce the practice, and I will also introduce the need to it, and we'll introduce Shoshan as a concept. In the second module, we will be learning, taking it a little more deeper with some examples, with some experiential activities. We will actually put this into practice, and we'll explore the potential of Shoshan as a concept. In the third module, we will actually be talking about becoming aware of our biases, the barriers, our limiting beliefs, and we will try and understand how we could work in a way where we can make space for an alternate view for another person as well. And we'll see how we can break through those assumptions and those biases that we usually carry. The second one is about how to handle stress and build resilient teams. Um, in this, I find it extremely interesting to talk about resilience, about just the way we talked about what mental health is and isn't. I also talk about what resilience is and isn't in the second module here, in the third module, in fact. We have a very limited sense of how we understand resilience, and it's often misused. So I'd love to actually delve a little deeper into that and talk about this in this theme. Again, the same format, it can be done in a 60 to 90-minute single workshop as well. At the same time, it can also be done in a slightly more elaborate way where we actually break it down into one module on a day, building in more experiential activities into these. Where the first one is where we take a stress test, and see where we're at. We understand the spectrum of stress. We a lot of times don't understand where we're at in terms of low stress, medium stress, high stress, what low stress, high stress, or medium stress even means. And what is it that we should do when we're at a particular level? For example, if I'm at a medium stress, how do I quantify that? We will be able to see that. What does it mean? What maybe symptoms, or what is it that I will see? What is it that I will be experiencing when I'm experiencing moderate stress? And corresponding to that, what is it that can be done, that I can do to manage that stress? We will be learning tools to lower our stress in that workshop. In the second one, we will delve a little deeper into understanding our stressor. What exactly is it that stresses us out? And in this module, I build more upon how the same stressor could stress person A and person B very differently, and why that happens. We'll delve into that. We'll understand, I break it down into three components of a stressor, and I break down each of those for you. And we'll look at how we can handle each of those components and how that can change the way you relate to the stressor. And we will also delve into the mind over here, where we will see how the mind might possibly be playing some tricks on us, and how we could become aware of that, and how we can change the storyline, and how we can befriend our mind to work for us instead. In the third module, we will be talking about resilience. Like I said, I love to delve on this one, what resilience is and isn't. We'll explore the source of building our resilience, which is basically about building our resources. And then we'll see how we can build our resilience as individuals, as well as build our resilience as teams. So these are the two mindfulness-based workshops that we are now introducing. We will be at the end of this webinar, we will be sending out a brochure to all of you, which will have these details about these two workshops and the format. And it will also have a link for you to fill in, to register on, not a registration, just a form where you can request a callback from us if you're interested in any of these interventions or you want any sort of contextualizing for your organization. We will be happy to do that for you as well. So don't worry about it. We will be sharing a brochure with you at the end of the webinar for booking any of these or requesting a callback and opening a discussion around these interventions. I now want to open the space up for any question and answers, for any questions that anyone might have. So I'm just ending the slideshow here and I'm opening this up. All right. I see there are already some questions. So just give me a moment to just go through the questions and answer them one by one. So the first question that I see here is, so is social media adding to mental health problems or increase in mental health due to low self-esteem or FOMO syndrome? I don't want to give a blanket answer for this because for everyone it might be different. But in general terms, I would say potentially yes. And I would directly relate it to not necessarily low self-esteem, but not enough awareness of self. Like I said, social media, in fact, I could put it like that. It's almost like shopping for misery. You know, social media is literally like that. Because when we go on social media, we look at different people and we see, okay, this person is going to, going out for a trip to Switzerland. Maybe I should do that. This person has taken up a job in the US. Maybe I need that. This person is going to this university, amazing university. I should have done that course as well. This person is married, has kids. I want that too. We're not looking at any one person as a whole because all of these things are fragmented. We put all of those things together in one basket and make that basket of misery for ourselves. So I almost call it shopping for misery when we go on social media. And we create this unrealistic picture and we compare ourselves to it. So yes, if we are not very aware of the fact that we're doing this, yes, it does add to our mental health problems. If we know who we are and what gives us joy, for example, if I look at these 10 things, but I still know that's not for me, I rather stay at home, watch a Netflix movie and just be happy with my family and just take a trip to an overnight. I don't like overnight trips, maybe. So just a day trip to Lonavala and I'm good. So yes, if you have a strong sense of self and you understand who you are, then it won't add to mental health misery as much as it does currently. All right, so let me I hope that I've answered your question. All right, this is also an interesting one. You mentioned that having a strong sense of self-awareness can save you from feeling hurt by negative comments from people, but isn't it a natural response to feel bad when people comment negatively about you, irrespective of whether it is true or untrue? How do we develop a strong resilience against hateful statements that we hear about ourselves? Great question. At no point of time am I saying that by practicing mindfulness or any other thing, we will stop getting affected by any of the comments. It's the only thing that I mean to say, and at no point of time does that mean that we will not be hurt by things that somebody is saying, we will not be upset, we will not get angry, or we will not feel those negative emotions. We will still feel that. The idea is that if we're able to understand where it is coming from, we will be able to bounce back quicker. If, for example, somebody says a negative comment about me, maybe the first question I want to ask is this really true? The second is, I would want to question myself, is this person really important? I think I've asked this question to a number of people. And I asked them, how many people, really matter to you in your life? And they would probably say 5 or 6. And I'm like, you leave those 5 people and you're really considered about what the rest of the 995 people are probably talking about. So if you're able to build in those questions, those small checks, we will be able to bounce back sooner. It at no point of time it means that it will not affect us. We'll be in a better position to deal with it. And it's almost, mindfulness is almost like traveling in a Mercedes, if I could say that. The road's going to be equally bumpy. You'll just feel, you'll have better shock absorbers and you'll feel, the turbulence a lot less than anything else. All right. So, what are the underlying principles, foundations of the workshop? I would actually love to delve deeper into this, but to whoever's put out this question, it would be great if you could fill up the form, and we would love to get back to you and have a slightly longer conversation, and we could explain this, about the concept and the principles of the workshop. So I would encourage you to please fill up the form, and we will get back to you on this. Um, all right. Um, okay. There's a question which asks me to explain Shoshin. Yes, RT Shoshin is the concept of a beginner's mindset. Don't worry, our workshop covers all of it. It just means not going into something as an expert, which just means that if I approach a problem, or if I think, oh, I'm an expert in, for example, some sort of a go-to-market strategy or something. If I think I'm an expert on a topic, I go in thinking that I know 98% of it, and I will dismiss a lot of other information that I might hear around it, which might contradict the information that I already have, because I have a very narrow sense of view, because I consider myself to be an expert in that. If I go to it as a beginner, with a Shoshin concept, it's a Zen concept. If I go into something as a beginner, with a beginner's mindset, I will be more open to considering alternate points of view. I will also be more open to considering points of view that might contradict my existing knowledge. And that's completely okay. That's how we break those barriers that we usually function in. And that's how we break those biases. So looking at it, being more open to considering alternate possibilities is how I would actually put Shoshin, the beginner's mindset. And of course, in the workshop, we delve deeper into that as well. Um, is there a physical session if you want to explore a 60 to 90-minute session? So as of now, we are offering these sessions in an online format. We will be moving to physical sessions eventually, a little later as well, but right now we're offering them as a virtual sessions, just like we're doing this as a webinar, but we're offering them as online sessions as of now. Okay. There's a question about how do you measure stress? Is it through an assessment tool? Yes, there is. In the workshop, um, a, a, we use a test. It's called a stress test, where perceived stress test, in fact. We use that test. It's about 10 questions, quick test. And that gives us a score. And that score is bifurcated into low, medium, and high stress. And we pick up from there, and we then decipher what would you be experiencing if you're probably experiencing low stress, and what could you do as interventions? What interventions could you use to handle that stress at each of those levels? So yes, it's a test. There is a 10-question test that's actually freely available online as well. It's called a perceived stress test. That's included in the session that we do. We use that test and we start off from there. All right. There is a question which is also about, okay, working from home for almost 1.5 years due to the pandemic situation. Has this taken mental health a setback? I would say yes and no. And the reason I say that is because I think one, a lot of emphasis has come onto mental health, and we've started talking about it in this webinar and some of the other webinars that we've been doing at Great Place to Work as well. And organizations, the interventions that organizations have started coming up with, it's just a testament to the fact that mental health is kind of now taking center stage. It's getting more important than it did earlier. Has it affected mental health in that sense? I would say to an extent, yes, because the boundaries got blurred, where we could physically step out of the office at a certain point of time, over at this point of time, that those boundaries are blurred, and it kind of spills over. We don't know where to put a stop, where our office ends and where our home begins. So in that sense, it has affected our mental health. But at the same time, because of the fact that we started talking a lot more about mental health because of the pandemic, I want to give some credit, to that as well. All right. Let me look at some of the other questions. Um, there is a question, Vidya is asking about how do you overcome overthinking? Um, Again, I could go into that, but very simply, I could just say the first thing it is about just becoming aware of the thoughts. If you actually look at the stats, we have more than 20,000 to 30,000 thoughts every single day. How many thoughts are we actually aware of? So the first thing is just becoming aware of the thoughts. You could start making a note of those thoughts. You could start journaling. You will start seeing a pattern. If you start doing it over a period of days, you will actually start seeing a pattern to the thoughts that you have. It stems from there. We start looking at it from there. There might be a recurrent theme. There might be something that's nagging at you. And then first is awareness, and then we start looking at how do we actually, how is it that we can actually solve this? And that goes deeper because that means that there's probably a need of yours that's not getting fulfilled. And there it goes deeper into what that need might be. It might be coming up as something else. It might be showing up as something else. But as we delve deeper, we're able to uncover those patterns. We're able to uncover those repetitive thoughts and take it from there. So the first thing I would say is just become aware of your thoughts and start journaling if you want. And if you want to connect later to figure out what journaling is, if you want to know more about the practice, I'll be happy to connect with you offline as well. Okay. Please speak about distractions and the difficulty of keeping one's phone in the next room. I wouldn't necessarily say that keeping our phone in the next room is a very practical solution. It's um, I wouldn't do that. No, no, and I wouldn't suggest you to keep your phone in the next room as well. The simplest thing that I like to do is if I don't want to get distracted by my phone, I put on silent hours, I put it on silent, I put it face down. As simple as that. So it's about not have, and you could start with something as simple as just maybe putting a timer and saying that I will not look at my phone. And I think we just get pulled into all these messages and multitude of emails and everything. I think if somebody has something urgent to say, they can always pick up the phone and call. Or you can just put that as your WhatsApp status. If something's urgent, please call. Otherwise, all the messages and everything, I think everything can wait. You can set a timer for maybe 5 minutes to start with if you're finding it difficult to resist that, and just have a quiet 5 minute time. You can increase the time to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, and you can build that practice. You can start for anything that doesn't come naturally to you. You can start building that as a very, very small practice. You can think, just think of it as the simplest step that you can take to be able to, something that you can implement right now. So I don't think, taking 5 minutes off your phone, putting in a silence, putting it face down, and just keeping it next to you. It doesn't have to be in the other room. Keeping it next to you, I think that's something which is very, very manageable. You could just start off there and build on it. All right. There's a question that Sangeeta is asking: is uh, stress measured only on professional stress or personal stress as well? So, Sangeeta, like I mentioned, uh, mental health is a continuous thread. We can't segregate that into professional and personal life. So, if you're, it could be on account of anything. It could be on account of something that's happening at work. It could be on account of something that's happening at home, but it will spill over to all and affect all areas of your life. So there is no segregation, and stress. Like I said, the different ways in which I talked about stress. It can, we always think of stress as being, it has to be something tangible. Oh, because I have a deadline, I am stressed. It doesn't necessarily always have to be like that. It could even just be the fact that you have a need to be heard, and maybe your partner isn't listening to you. It could just be as simple as that as well. Or just be wanting to be respected or needing some time off to unwind. And maybe that simple need and you're not getting that. It could be at home or anywhere else. And if that need is not met, you will get stressed. It could happen anywhere. So there is no distinction between professional and personal stress. There is another question, which is emotional intelligence attained through mindfulness? So, by emotional intelligence, the way I understand and describe it is it's about understanding what you're feeling, and it's about being able to uncover what is causing you to feel that and what reaction is coming up from that, and being able to move from reaction to response. So let me give you an example. I could think that I'm extremely angry with my partner. Anger is just the tip of the iceberg. There will be a lot of there'll be a level two of emotions. It might be, like I said, because I just wanted my partner to hear me out and he didn't hear me. Or he said something because of which I felt unwanted, or he said something because of which I felt disrespected. Anger is how those emotions will come across as anger, but there will be a second level of emotions to it. We need to be able to demystify that. So yes, with mindfulness, we're able to do that. With that, there is also a third level. For all of those second level of emotions, there will be a need that is not being met. So if we're able to understand that need, and for example, if it's just a need to be respected, if I understand that level three, I will be able to tell my partner, hey, I think that I felt a little disrespected when you said this. Could you not do it again? It could be something as simple as that. But if we don't understand it in that sense, we will not be able to communicate, and we'll just keep getting caught up in that cycle of anger. For example, I just took anger as one example. So yes, definitely mindfulness helps us become more intelligent when it comes to our emotions. And it also gives us the tools to deal with those emotions. All right. Let me just run through some of the other questions that we have. How to minimize social media time to utilize it for some productive, useful work. I use a very simple hack on social media, especially when it comes to Instagram. I don't follow, I'm just sharing that as an example. You could choose to or not, choose not to use it. But just sharing one of the strategies, I don't follow people on social media. I only follow things that either give me joy or things that I find inspiration from. So if it's maybe inspirational quotes, I will follow accounts that post inspirational quotes. If there is maybe mindfulness, I will follow accounts that talk about emotional well-being, that talk about mindfulness. If maybe I'm interested in cooking or interiors, I will follow accounts that post content around that. So instead of getting caught up in what people are doing, I will actually change my feed. I will make Instagram work for me to show me things that give me joy rather than show me things that evoke, FOMO in me. So that's one thing that you could do. However, if you still want to follow people, and that's completely fine, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. If you still want to do that, just be cognizant of the fact that you're not creating that basket of misery for yourself. Um, and also always remember that people always show their best selves. We'll probably take 10 pictures to put out the best one, but we won't put out the picture when we're upset, when we're crying, when we're having a fight with our partner. We won't put out those pictures. So just be cognizant of the fact that people put out the best self, something that even probably they don't have. They're only creating that image. So just be cognizant of that, and be aware of who you are and what gives you joy. If you have that strong sense of self, it won't be as bad. Social media won't be such a villain anymore. Um, all right. And the other time is, of course, using those apps which help you track the amount of time that you're spending on social media. So you can just limit and say, I won't spend more than 15 minutes, on a particular platform. You could start by doing that. Okay. Let me just take a few more questions. Sure. Does a mindfulness app help? Yes, sure, it can help. It's certainly better than not practicing mindfulness at all. The reason I recommend in-person sessions is because when if it's a practice that's new to you, you will have experiences with mindfulness that you would want to understand and you would want to know whether it's right or not. If probably there are 5 people in your organization, for example, in a group who are practicing mindfulness, one person will have a different way of experiencing it. You will have probably a different way of experiencing it. There's a possibility that one might think, oh, maybe my way of doing it is wrong, or what I'm experiencing is wrong, and the way I'm doing it is wrong. But if you're actually practicing with someone live, with a practitioner, the person will be able to help you walk through it, through your experience, and explain and reflect on your experience and explain, what that means to you. So certainly, not practicing mindfulness at all, definitely go ahead, use an app. Something is certainly better than nothing, but it sometimes might be counterproductive because you might think you're not doing it wrong, you're not doing it right, and that might discourage you, and you might just give up the practice. So if you can just work around that, sure, go ahead, and you can use an app as well for that. Um, Let me look up the question. Um, Shambhavi, can I take one last question?
Yeah, I think we have time for one last question.
Sure, sure. There's a question which says mindfulness comes with practice. Malvika is saying, what would you recommend for those who are new to it? There's a lot of content available online, but which one to choose and how to know what's perfect or the best? Sure. Malvika, like I said, it's best to maybe start with a practitioner so that they can walk you through these experiences and you don't get discouraged thinking maybe the way I'm doing it is wrong. The way you could start is as simple. Your breath is the simple, most powerful tool when it comes to mindfulness. You could just focus on your inhales and exhales and just take the time, take a minute or two to just do that. The second quick way of doing it is micro practices, which is where even if you're maybe just washing your hands, just becoming aware of the sounds of the way the water is falling on your hands, the smell of the soap, the way, soap is turning into lather and the way it's washing away, the fragrance of the soap. These are micro practices that you can do with any activity that you do every day. So that's a great way to start. I hope that I've answered your question. And Shambhavi, I will uh, give it over to you now. I think I'm almost out of time now.
Thank you, Shivani. That was wonderful round of question and answers. I think I would especially like to thank everyone who has been so interactive in sharing questions. I've been going through them, and they're all so insightful, so meaningful questions, which actually shows that you've keen interest in understanding more about mindfulness, more about mental health, etc. So thank you all for being with us. I'm quickly going to share a feedback form. It's just a one question here that I've launched right now. Would like to hear from you as to how has your experience been. For everyone who has shared their lead, their information, we will get back to you within a week's time. We'll individually reach out to you to understand how can we plan a mindfulness session, either a one time or a series for you, and we'll take it more on a one-on-one basis. Thank you, Shivani. It was delightful to have you here and share your knowledge with
Thank you
everyone here.
so much. Thank you so much, Shambhavi, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I hope that you will take up some practices at least. And as Shambhavi said, feel free to fill up that form and we will reach out to you with more details. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Have a wonderful day ahead. Bye bye.